Hello and welcome to the version 9 release training for the ForecastBuilder software. So version 9 contains several changes listed here in terms of just the highlights, and I'll try and hit on a couple of these. First is the addition of a tropical operations workflow. Then several user look and feel changes, mainly associated with this button approach, and we'll go through that here in a second. We've added support for the National GHWO initiative, upgraded the edit retention software contained within the ForecastBuilder program. We've also added a new tool to derive hourly temperature, replacing the callout to the NWS diurnal tool because of some issues that have been observed with that tool over the years. We've also added the ability to derive hourly pop from a pop 12, and then a variety of technical bug fixes and improvements. So let's talk about the button approach. So previously, with the ForecastBuilder GUI, when you opened it, you had this menu system in place for various run steps that you could go through there. So that has been replaced with this button approach you've seen here. And when you go into the main ForecastBuilder GUI, you can actually configure what steps are going to run in terms of what buttons show up. In fact, for the entire site, your office, these can be configured in terms of what would show up at all. Again, this replaces the run steps. Why this change is being made is kind of setting us up for version 10, which I will talk about towards the end of the presentation. And then also at the bottom of the ForecastBuilder GUI and all the steps, you will have these buttons that allow you to do whether it's exit ForecastBuilder, run and all that. But there's specifically a button there showing go to main GUI, which will always bring you back to the main GUI. And you will have noticed on the previous slide there is some colors being applied, and that is another change that we have made with this version. And again, there's the 4 options here shown where you can either run and go to the next step, run, go to the main GUI, just go right back to the main GUI, or completely exit ForecastBuilder. And that's present on all steps within the ForecastBuilder process. We've also added a status bar, which I think is really cool. Will be a great way to show what's happening with ForecastBuilder in the background, whether it's populating, interpolating, things like that. Expect this feature to grow in later builds. Another item that we have added is this small little GUI that will reside behind the main ForecastBuilder GUI that says Kill ForecastBuilder. This is there in the event that there would be some sort of GUI hang due to code error, or maybe there's something going on with Cave itself that's causing ForecastBuilder to hang for you. So if you just hit that kill button, it will get you out of the ForecastBuilder program entirely. So ForecastBuilder has had this edit retention capability built in for several years. And just a little bit of review, because I don't believe this has been used very much. This capability is particularly for when you have a cron-based population occurring of, say, NBM data, and this allows some tracking and preservation of those grid edits. Within this release, there have been several changes here. This addition of automatic mode, turning on for all offices prior to this release, has been mostly confined to Western region. And we cleaned up a lot of the tool naming because it was kind of hard to follow before. So there's a separate training module link, and this is also provided in various areas of the documentation for ForecastBuilder, and you can run through that at your leisure. So within ForecastBuilder, we've been running the NWS diurnal tool as an option for regenerating hourly temperatures from a max-T and min-T. Unfortunately, that tool has had some issues, particularly in some cases where there's small diurnal changes or non-diurnal situations. So again, in this release, we have added a new tool which is called Derive Hourly T from Max and Min. Note the word diurnal is completely removed here. So again, this replaces the existing callout, and how this works is we're applying a similar concept with the creation of the NBM PPI 01 and 06 in the National SmartNITs. And what this does is it helps you to closely match your hourly temperature trends forecast by the NBM, and no more, again, using that best fit curve that would come with the NWS diurnal tool. And then the hourly temperature too will have an interpolation occurring every 3 hours after 30. because we don't have hourly data from the MBM during that time. So in that same GUI that happens after the populate step, we talked about the derive hourly T from XMIN. There's also one called recalculate pop from pop 12. This, again, like the hourly temperature one, has the same concept as the MBM PPI approach, where your hourly pop values are going to be shrinked or stretched to match your edits to a pop 12 grid. So when would you want to use this? Well, first, you're going to have to like the time and areal placement of hourly pops. All you want to do is change the values, again, the concept shrink or stretch. I will say this is a very easy way to lower or remove pops. You may also want to use this when the confidence is increasing in precipitation reach in the CWA. For example, let's say your hourly pops were generally in the 20 to 40% range on concerns whether or not an MCS will arrive in your CWA. Well, that MCS is taking place, and you love the time and an areal placement of it, but you just need to increase those pops. Work with your pop 12 grid, increase those values. All of your pops, then after you hit this button, will change accordingly. When would you not want to use this? Well, if your pop grids are already near zero, then this approach has a struggle of figuring out where to add or adjust the pops. So I highly doubt you probably want to be using this in that scenario, but that's the main one where you wouldn't want to use it. So again, how to use this? Just save your pops before clicking the button, so that it can be reverted if you're unhappy with the output. And make sure to work with your pop 12 grid first, because it will act on that selected time range. So if you're looking at, say, today's pop grids, you want to select the pop 12 grid for today, and it's going to adjust all the pop grids for the daytime period. And you can see that here in some of the sample images. Next, in the accumulation and weather grid steps, you're going to see two new items here about edit area to use and time range to use. So what this allows you to do on the area side is it allows you to, on the fly, run ForecastBuilder just for that area. And you're not having to exit the program, restarting from the first step. This is perfect, say, I want to apply a certain weather attribute from the weather grid step just to that area. What you would do is highlight an area in GFE, click the button current, and then ForecastBuilder will only apply the weather stuff to that specific area. Similarly, you can do this on the time range side. So let's say you start off with a time range that runs from day 2 to day 7, and you're going to generate weather for that. But say, okay, I want stratiform in day 2 and 3, shower in day 4 through 7. Just throwing out an example. You can do that with this by highlighting a time range for day 2 and 3 for the stratiform, and then highlight a time range day 4 through 7 for shower. These are options there for you to use. You may not have to use them, but if you need to have those situations where over an edit area or a time range you want some specific differences, this is a nice quick way to do this without having to exit or restart ForecastBuilder from the process and having to go through everything again. So this should make that easier for you. A new item here too with the ForecastBuilder program in this version 9 is the option for rain only. So this is an option just to speed up the precipitation type and accumulation step when you're in a completely warm scenario, say you're during the summertime, when your min temperature values are just going to be greater than or equal to 45 degrees. And actually, that's when this option will show up. When you have that option selected and hit run this step, it's going to just set pot rain to 100 and get rid of all the wintry precipitating type grids, and then set your snow, ice, sleet grids to 0. Again, version 9 provides a tropical operations workflow. This is something that's been highly requested because the tropical program, all the various things that you have to remember and how to go from one step to the next, it seems like it's perfectly built for the ForecastBuilder program. So we've worked through and got that in there. And of course, if you go through this, the tropical operations, and you miss a step, you could end up with the complete wrong scenario disseminating out to your partners in public. So several individuals across Southern region over the past couple years charted out what the workflow was like. And in coordination here with the Tropical program, we've integrated those steps into the ForecastBuilder program and ironed out several of the issues. However, we are still keeping this in a beta testing approach, non-operational, because we understand about the Tropical program that we want to make sure that this is all set. So the concept here is that we're going to have offices, again, beta offices, work in like a practice mode, work through some tropical scenarios, and make sure things are working as expected, and make any adjustments so that next year most of this tropical stuff will be then ready to go for everyone. There is a separate tropical training module that has been supplied here. It's a nice little video. Feel free to take a look at that when you have time. And here's what the GUI looks like if you were to go through the tropical approach. You have all these various steps to populate, and it shows you kind of in that order. One other item added to ForecastBuilder version 9 is the support for the National GHWO project. So with the version 8 series, ForecastBuilder went through the process of integrating Hazard Builder into the program. So the Hazard Builder grids are nice to help identify where more grid emphasis may be required, and being in scalar form, then I think they're kind of easy to work with as well. With this release, what we've done is kind of paired what we've done with the ForecastBuilder software with the National GHWO software package. So your office, if they install ForecastBuilder in the National GHWO software package, then all this Hazard Builder stuff will get uploaded to your GHWO webpage. Just bring this to your attention. It's, for those that have been using ForecastBuilder for a while, you'll probably not notice much difference from before. Just again, an FYI. So finally, next in development here is for version 10 is merging in the Southern Region GridSimp software package. So that software package has been utilized in some Southern Region offices over the last couple of years, kind of adapted from ForecastBuilder. But why it's been separate is that ForecastBuilder up to this point has been always this one-way workflow. We do a foundation grid and maybe environmental grids if for those offices have been doing like top-down or Burgoyne. And then those help derive precipitation types, snow and ice. Well, in this era with like NBM, P-types, and that, there's an opportunity here to work actually two-way, and that's again what the Southern Region GridSimp software does. So if you need to modify a P-type, you can then, the GridSimp software will recognize, say, hey, I need to make an adjustment to the foundation grid to make sure that everything stays in compliance. This approach, again, is necessary, I would say, for the time being when interacting with NBM precipitation types. As the NBM continues to improve, this may be less and less needed. And again, that buttonology I mentioned at the early start of this presentation, a lot of that is needed for this GridSimp approach, as well as going back and talk about the tropical operations workflow. So that's it for this presentation, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions or feedback, you can feel free to post a post here on the NWS chat room. Go to our virtual VLab site, and there's an email address. Any of these options will get information to the appropriate people. So thank you very much.